Welcome to a school you did not even know you needed. This is not a TED Talk, this is not a lecture, and certainly not a geopolitics boring YouTube or blog or vlog, whatever you call it. Welcome to Peace is Like Sex. This is a book that a friend of mine and I, Max Boqwana, have written, put together, and publishers have run away from it. They say it's too inflammatory, is the word. But hey, let's be honest. Africans spoke about things exactly as they were. They said it like it was. You know, we're going to be talking about a series on peacemaking, not as a theory, but as practice. Not from a European perspective, but from a truly African perspective. Just like James Waite in that book, famous book, The Nigger of the Narcissus. He's a sailor, and there's a roll call, and he walks in there, and everybody turns back and looks at him. And he stands there, big guy, and they keep quiet, and he says, "I belong to this ship." As a black guy in India, in Mumbai, or Bombay as it was called then, and the ship is going all the way around South Africa to the United Kingdom. And he says, "I belong here." And he walks past into his cabin. That's what we're going to do. The world is in deep trouble as we speak. The United Nations, according to the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, is powerless and bankrupt, and I think actually bankrupt morally as well. And if you think about when Kofi Annan was in charge of the United Nations, the world was at its most peaceful. That he was awarded a Nobel Prize together with the United Nations itself. We belong here. The world needs this African wisdom. It needs African diplomacy to make it better and safer again, not only for you and me, but for our children as well. This is a conversation. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you will be the first to know the series as it breaks, because we're going to have a good time. Max is not here right now, by the way. He's somewhere on the African continent talking about peace on a practical level and bringing conflicts to an end. We speak about 8 African leaders and their models that they have delivered. We speak about Albert Luthuli, Chief Albert Luthuli, the first African to win the Nobel Peace Prize. We speak about Oliver Tambo, who kept the ANC alive while Nelson Mandela was in prison, and built this huge machinery that was able to defeat apartheid with all its money, its resources, its allies, both in the West, in the Middle East, and in the East. The Chinese will tell you they didn't do it, but we found Chinese stuff in South Africa. The Russians were having a monopoly with the apartheid government. We know the West was dealing, and the Middle East was supplying them with oil. Tambo was able to defeat that machinery together with the West. We talk about Nelson Mandela while he was in prison and was able to start the talks going, got the talks going, being alone in jail, yet had the power to be able to achieve this. We talk about Thabo Mbeki, the man who ran on the ground, talking from one person to another, making them believe that the peace route was the best route, making his organization believe, armed men believe that they could lay their arms down and talk to the apartheid government. He took the Afrikaners onto the African continent and made the Africans welcome the Afrikaners as part of the continent, as their brothers in the continent. Once we've spoken about Thabo Mbeki, we'll speak also about the visitor. Martin Luther King himself, when he came to Ghana and saw the transfer of power from the colonizer to the people of Ghana, and what lesson he took back across the Atlantic to America to teach them about nonviolence and show them that nonviolence can work. As a result, America was able to defeat Jim Crow because Africa had played its part. And then we speak about Kofi Annan, whom I spoke about a little earlier, the Nobel Prize winner, not only for himself, but for the United Nations as well. Stay with us. Join us from time to time, because this is a conversation. It's not a one-way thing. You will give us your comments, you will subscribe, and we will give us questions, and we will deal with them together as a world, a community of peacemakers around the world. See you soon. We even go further into the past, go deep into the annals of history to look at St Augustine from Algeria, who was one of the cornerstones of Christianity. His thinking has led not just only Christianity, but the entire Western civilization. St Augustine of Hippo. That's how far back we go, and the models of peace that he built. Blessed are the peacemakers, says the Bible, for they shall be called the children of God. He explained that so deeply in his book, Sermon on the Mount. That's how far we go, because we belong to this world. We have done and achieved great things. The world needs you because it needs peace.